The war chamber of the sovereign was never silent. Holographic constellations rotated above a black glass floor. Alien generals whispered in coded frequencies. Outside the transparent dome, a dying star burned orange against the endless dark. At the center stood the alien sovereign, tall, composed, unreadable. And beside her, a human. Adrian Cole didn't look like a warrior. No armor. No enhancements. Just a simple dark uniform and tired eyes that had seen too much war on Earth. To the alien court, he was a political symbol, a fragile alliance experiment. A pet human the sovereign had chosen to protect after a failed invasion of his colony. They called him weak. They said he survived only because she allowed it. Tonight was supposed to prove them right. The chamber doors opened. The elite assassin entered. Engineered for perfection. Faster than sight. Stronger than any battlefield machine. Sent quietly by rival factions who believed the sovereign's attachment to a human made her vulnerable. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The assassin didn't announce himself. He moved. In less than a heartbeat, he crossed the floor. Blades unfolded from his arms, aimed not at the sovereign, but at Adrian. Because killing the human would break her. The sovereign didn't move. She froze. Not out of fear, but calculation. The court watched, expecting blood. They expected the fragile human to fall. They expected proof that humans were soft, emotional, breakable. Adrian didn't step back. He stepped forward. And for the first time since entering this galaxy, he stopped looking like prey. The assassin didn't rush this time. He moved with deliberate calculation, each step a whisper of lethal precision. The assassin recovered fast. Too fast. The moment they hit the glass floor, the creature twisted with unnatural flexibility. Adrian felt the shift instantly. The fight was slipping from his control. A metallic elbow drove into his ribs. Air left his lungs. The blade nearly turned in his grip. The court leaned forward. This was the moment they had expected. Human endurance had limits. Alien engineering did not. The assassin forced upward, overpowering Adrian inch by inch. Their faces were close now. Adrian could see his own reflection in the creature's dark, emotionless eyes. No hatred. No anger. Just purpose. Adrian's arm trembled. Not from weakness, from strain. He couldn't win in a contest of force. So he stopped trying. Instead of resisting upward pressure, he suddenly let go. The assassin's strength carried forward unexpectedly. Balance shifted. Just slightly. Adrian used that split second. He hooked his leg behind the assassin's injured joint and twisted his hips hard, the same movement he had practiced 1,000 times in hand-to-hand drills back on Earth. The joint gave out. The creature collapsed sideways. Before it could recalibrate, Adrian rolled on top and slammed the blade down, not dramatically, not heroically, just efficiently. Silence filled the chamber. The assassin stopped moving. No cheers. No gasps. Only stillness. Adrian remained there for a moment, breathing heavily, blood running down his side, hands shaking from adrenaline. He hadn't won because he was stronger. He had won because he was human. And across the chamber, the alien sovereign stood silent. Not shocked. Not afraid. But seeing him, truly seeing him, for the first time. The chamber stayed silent long after the assassin's body was removed. No one applauded. Alien culture did not celebrate violence. They evaluated it. Adrian pushed himself up slowly. His ribs ached. His shoulder throbbed. Every breath felt sharp. There was no cinematic triumph, only exhaustion. He looked small again. Human again. Across the chamber, the sovereign descended from her elevated throne. Each step echoed softly against the glass floor. The court watched closely. Some expected anger. Others expected distance. After all, this human had just killed one of their most elite warriors. She stopped in front of him. For a moment, neither spoke. Adrian straightened despite the pain. Not out of pride, but dignity. He did not bow. "I did what I had to," he said quietly. Not defiant. Not apologetic. Just honest. The sovereign studied the blood on his uniform. The tremor in his hands. The fact that he was still standing despite knowing he had been targeted as leverage. "You were afraid," she observed. Adrian gave a faint, tired smile. "Of course." Murmurs rippled through the court. Admitting fear was considered weakness among their kind. "But I stayed," he added. That mattered. The sovereign turned slowly to face her counsel. "You engineered perfection," she said calmly. "You built speed. Strength. Precision." Her voice lowered. "And you still failed to understand unpredictability." Her gaze returned to Adrian. "Humans are not powerful because they lack fear," she continued. "They are powerful because they act despite it." The court grew still. This was no longer about an assassin. This was about value. About whether a species once labeled inferior might be something far more dangerous. Not physically superior. But impossible to fully calculate. And for the first time, the galaxy's most powerful ruler looked at a human not as a symbol, but as an equal. The chamber did not remain united. The moment the sovereign declared Adrian's value, tension spread like a silent fracture. One of the high strategists stepped forward. His voice was controlled, but sharp. "He killed one of ours." It wasn't accusation. It was calculation. Another council member added, "The assassin was activated because of instability within this court. And that instability exists because of him." Eyes turned toward Adrian again. Not with mockery now. With caution. The sovereign did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. "The assassin targeted him," she said evenly. "Not me." "That is precisely the concern," the strategist replied. "Your enemies believe harming him harms you." That was the truth. Adrian understood it instantly. He had become leverage. A weakness. The sovereign looked at him, not as a ruler now, but as someone weighing a difficult decision. "If you remain," she said quietly, "you will continue to be targeted." Adrian wiped blood from his jaw. "I figured." The court watched carefully. This was the moment. Exile the human, stability returns. Keep him, political fractures deepen. Adrian spoke before she could decide. "Send me back." The word surprised even him. "If I stay, they'll keep using me to test you," he continued. "I'm not worth destabilizing an empire." Silence followed. The sovereign's expression hardened slightly, not in anger, but in disagreement. "You assume your value is limited to survival," she said. But she also understood the risk. Keeping him would signal defiance to rival factions. Letting him go would signal distance. Both had consequences. The chamber waited. Because whatever she chose next would not just define her rule. It would define the future between humans and her kind. The silence in the chamber felt heavier than the fight. The sovereign stepped closer to Adrian. "If I send you back," she said calmly, "my enemies will believe I severed the bond." "And if you don't?" Adrian asked quietly. "They will escalate. No drama. No exaggerated threats. Just political reality." Adrian understood something in that moment. This was never about strength. It was about perception. He wasn't dangerous because he killed the assassin. He was dangerous because he mattered. The high strategist spoke again. "Your rule depends on unity. Remove the variable." Variable. That was what he was to them. A risk calculation. Adrian inhaled slowly despite the pain in his ribs. Then use me, he said. The chamber shifted. Send me back to Earth, he continued. Publicly. Make it clear I chose to leave. That I don't belong to you. The Sovereign's eyes narrowed slightly. That would be deception. It would be strategy. He held her gaze. Not as a soldier. Not as a subordinate. As someone who understood sacrifice. If they think I'm no longer your weakness, Adrian said, they'll stop aiming at me. And you? She asked. He gave a tired half-smile. I'll go back to being human. The truth was simpler. He would live the rest of his life knowing he walked away from something bigger than himself. The Sovereign turned to her council. It will be done, she declared. The decision echoed through the chamber like a sealed fate. As guards prepared transport protocols, she stepped close enough that only he could hear her. You were never weak. Adrian looked at her one last time. And you were never cold. No embrace. No spectacle. Just understanding. Hours later, a single human shuttle left alien space. Official records would say the Alliance experiment ended. But across the galaxy, whispers spread. The Sovereign froze once. Not from fear. But because a human proved something her empire never calculated. Strength is not built in a laboratory. It is chosen.